Welcome back to Cindy's Art. Today I want to do a simple painting where we're going to focus on the sky and the reflections that are in the water. And I pulled this picture off of unsplash.com. I've used Arch's watercolor cold press paper. I have a 4 by 6.5 inch size here, a little bit larger than normal. And I started off wet on wet. I'm using Aurelion, which is the yellow tone. The pink is opera, and I'm using permanent orange and mixing that with a little bit of the pink in order to get this really vibrant color. I love mixing the orange with that pink. It just really makes it super bright. So like I said, these are some of my favorite colors. So as I work with wet on wet, what I'm going to do is begin to lay in some of the basic colors for the sky, just to get a feel for how dark I want that upper corner to reflect the purple. And then I'm going to move it into yellow, orange, and pink, and then violet. That's what the horizon line is going to look like in that order. So my paper is nice and wet. As I'm working with this wet on wet, what's going to happen is I can lay out these layers of colors and they're going to blend into each other. One of the tricks that I do when I'm trying to keep my paper wet enough when I work with it like this, because it is going to start to dry, I'll make sure that there's a good amount of water on my paintbrush, not too much. I dip it in my water, then I dip it on a rag that I have in the center of this video. You can see it at the top just barely. And then I dip it with inside of my paint and I layer that on there. So it's re-wetting my paper just a little bit more while I continue to layer the colors. So again, what that's going to do is help these colors blend in with one another. I liked the way I was splitting the sky up with the purplish pink towards the top, the yellow, then orange, and moving down to the bottom it'll be a bright pink and a violet. So I'm liking the way that this has been turning out. So I'm darkening all of my colors now so I can add in the vibrant colors that I want, and I'm going to let those blend. And another thing that I'm doing right now is tilting that paper. You can see I'm holding it up while I'm showing you that I'm adding paint onto this horizon line. By doing that, that is going to help gravity pull the water down, and it's going to help blend those colors again. So there's lots of ways that you can blend colors, and if your paint and your paper is wet enough, tilting your paper is another way to do it. I like the way that those colors turned out. I let it dry, and I would usually go back and I'll do another layer of paint, and it'll make the top look a little bit smoother. But for now, I want to move on to painting the water. And you can take a look at the reference. There's a beautiful orange glow, and I am going to protect the light that is near the horizon line, add some of the shadows in first. That's what I'm doing with this reddish orange. And then I'm going to add in some of the yellow, and I'm going to continue to just develop the colors. I want to keep this super light down here. I don't want it too dark. Now I want to warn you, I actually went in and recorded, or thought I recorded, putting the trees in the horizon line here, and I couldn't find the clip. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and we'll focus on the water and working on those areas. But let me just tell you that the trees and the branches, I use primarily neutral mixed with purple, and then I'm going to add a little bit of olive green towards the end. But that's what I used in order to create those trees. It's not a lot of fuss. So you can go ahead and add that in, and then we're going to work on the reflections. When I looked at my original painting, or the original photo, what I found was these darker tones and darker areas of where the water had shadow, or it wasn't reflecting so much of the light. So all I'm going to do is dab that into here and begin to build some of the shadows, and then I'm going to show you how I highlighted some of the water texture. I added in another layer of color, which I think it makes it look more vibrant, and that's what I wanted with this picture. And then I am dabbing in just a little bit more yellows and colors, even into those shadows area. All it's going to do is make it glow, and it's going to smooth out some of the water. So as I progressed with this, in another minute, I'm going to start adding some of the shadows into where you see the tree reflected in the water. And when I do that, that is a wet on wet technique. My paper is not super wet when I'm working on that area. It's going to be mildly wet. To add in this shadow area, my paper is wet, but it's not super wet. And what I'm doing is using a flat brush, a 1/2 inch flat brush, and I'm dabbing lines in for the reflection. There's many ways you can do this, but I used a little bit of moist paper, and then I used my flat edge to dab in some of the shadows that we saw in the water. I'm not worried about this matching the photo exactly. It's a painting, so we interpret it. And I want to show that the illusion of there being a shadow, and I don't want to have it too strong, and I don't need it to look like the photo. So one of the things I've done as I've pulled that shadow down is I've used a little bit of a dry brush with a tiny bit of water on it, and I'm just kind of spreading out that shadow. And it winds up creating a nice soft shadow to it without being too strong. And then what I wanted to do was add in some leaves. So I took some beautiful sap green with a little bit of quinacridone gold, and I mixed those together, and all I'm doing is dabbing in. I'm not worrying about the details. I don't need it to be exact. I just need there to be a green glow from the sun kind of reflecting on these leaves. So towards the end of my painting, that's what I chose to do, was to add a little bit of that green glow. It's the only thing in the painting that's going to have that glow to it, but it created this nice soft effect with it. I'm finishing up with just the final details. I love to putz. I I could get lost in all of the details and just enjoy painting this. It's therapeutic for me. So I'm just going to finish up with a few of the details. I'm looking at the tree in the background there and decided I needed to touch it up with a little bit more darkness. And again, I mixed my violet with the neutral color and I added that in there. But this painting is really simple. It is not meant to be a lot of fuss. It gives you a chance for you to practice layering and glazing colors and for you to be able to tilt the paper or use your brush in order to mix the colors. So it's meant to be simple. And the same thing with the reflection. I didn't want to have to show you a number of methods. I wanted you to try something that was very simple. And when this finished off, I really enjoyed the look of it. I would love to see yours. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you got value from it. And I would love to see you next time.